Hello, and welcome to Derailed. This is episode 2, and I'm no longer going to say the date because I'm realizing that we post the episode a week later, so it's kind of pointless for people to know. Plus, we never say stuff that's like relevant anyway, so I don't think it really matters. So from now on, just episode numbers. My name is Greg, and as always, I am joined by my fellow hosts, Adash and Harry. Adash, what's up?
Nothing. Don't put me on the spot like that.
All right, Harry, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I just finished what's it called? All my classes or normal classes are done now.
Ooh.
I have 2 finals next week, and I'll be done with the rest of the semester. I took my practical exam today for one of my classes, and that went all right. And tomorrow is also a pretty important day, but for other reasons.
What are these other reasons?
It's
Drugs.
No.
Oh.
It's my court date tomorrow.
Wait, for what?
My speeding ticket.
Oh, right, okay. Well, have fun.
A little nervous.
I think that
would be a story for another time.
Yeah.
No, that's not a story.
We can talk about that.
No,
yeah.
That's not a story that needs to go online.
All right. Today it is Adash's turn to choose a topic, and that topic is...
Do we have ADHD?
Bro,
I feel
no
like
way.
This is not going to take very long.
I feel like what?
Well, actually, I don't think you have ADHD, Greg, really.
Harry, save the discussion for the discussion section.
Okay.
Before we discuss that, how are we doing this week? I kind of actually already just asked you guys, but this is just the transition into the free talk section. I didn't actually know you got a speeding ticket.
Oh, yeah,
What?
yeah. It was a while back ago. I might have mentioned it and just like, because I try not to think about it. Because I don't like thinking about
Greg,
it.
I can assure you were aware of this.
Wait, I was?
I assure you of this fact. Yeah. It has been like I think 6 months.
Yeah, almost. It's been like almost half
So
a year.
it's been a while. But we did talk about
that long?
Well, so the original court date was September 20th.
His anniversary.
It was the same day as Bananas Knight's anniversary. But
wow.
The attorneys I hired, what they did was they pushed it back. I think the whole ploy with that is to try and catch the officer off guard or something in a way to try and hopefully they won't just show up. Which, if that is the case, would be the best case. But we will see for sure tomorrow.
Wow. Well, that should be fun.
Yeah, no. First time for everything, but like I wish it wasn't such a drastic first time for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you always have to go to court for speeding tickets, or is it just if you're disputing it?
So it's yes for I think it is yes for this if you want to dispute it. Because I know online it gives the option I can pay like the fine online if I admit guilt, but because of the charges I'm being charged with, I'm not just able to just apply for pay for it off online. I have to go to court and do a hearing and hear my possible
Harry
results.
rode his Honda like it was a McLaren.
It's a Toyota.
Right, his Toyota like it's a McLaren, and yeah.
Well, let's just say, no, not the best time for that. I should have quit while I was ahead. I hate thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, if it was gonna happen to one of us.
I suppose you're right.
The thing is, it's like I feel bad saying this because I don't want you to go through a ticket. I certainly don't want you to go through like imprisonment or anything, which I don't think will happen. But I'm like, honestly, considering I did feel like you needed a little bit of a just a check.
Yes and no, because it's not something I do often.
It's not,
and like that was one of those things where because it was also encouraged, I did it. I'm not trying to, I'm not saying like, it's not my fault. They helped push me to it, but at the same time, it's one of those things where the extra push was there, and I definitely should have had the sense of mind to be like, yeah, let's not do this anymore.
Yeah, let the record show it was not me encouraging.
Yeah. Adash was probably the only one that was like,
it was me.
Let's
I
stop
did it
now.
I was like, Harry, go.
Yeah.
No,
sadly, he got outvoted by 3 other people.
yeah, it was the.
See, I want to know who those people are, but now is not the time for that.
Yeah.
Well,
but I have some guesses.
you would get 2 of the guesses correct. You wouldn't know.
Yeah. I probably Well, good luck, I guess. that does.
Try not
I
to.
probably actually need some just because.
Yeah. It's not going to be televised, is it? I can't watch it and be like, "Hey, that's my boy."
Bro, if it was televised, imagine. Yeah, no.
We should
pretty sure I need to agree to that kind of things.
Bring the podcast to court. Just
you actually don't. I don't think you have any say. If somebody chooses to televise it, they can. It's just who's gonna bother.
I think it's in certain states that's allowed, because I'm pretty sure in a majority of states you're not allowed to televise those things, and that's why certain court hearings, I think the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard one was in a certain I forget which state it was, but in that state
Virginia,
it's legal.
Yeah,
it's legal to televise it, and so that's why it is, and that's why certain shows televise the court hearing. The Judge Judy or certain.
Well, at least you're safe.
I think those are filmed in those states that make it legal because it's legal. And I also
can I just go down there with a camcorder and just record it?
I don't think that's how that works. I have no expert in law workings, even though.
Do you think it would help your case or hurt your case if I stood up halfway and was like, "That's my boy"?
I don't think that would help me at all. I don't think it would help me at all.
No, but they.
I would do it at an opportune moment. But they know
you had homies that were tight like that.
But how does that help me?
You can call me to the witness stands and then just be like. Where were you at 5 p.m. on the Tuesday? It's like, well, I wasn't there, but it's like, then why are you on the stand? It's like, well, he's my homie, you know?
Yeah, no, it's like Greg's gonna be like, I may not have witnessed Harry going 110 on the highway, but I have witnessed this man do 3 shots in 2 minutes, and let me tell you, nobody does it like Harrison.
That doesn't help me at all. That doesn't help my case at all. Yeah.
This is not going to age well. Okay, so let's
it's not.
Let's move
Especially if it goes poorly tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the thing.
The thing.
The main topic.
Right. So the reason I came up with this topic of do we have ADHD? By the way, I've decided I've made an executive decision for myself in that it doesn't matter if I'm given the topic a week ahead. I'm just gonna improv this shit because you can legit just give me word soup and I will talk about it for an hour. So I'm not gonna I don't know. I don't really bother thinking about this stuff.
My next topic is going to be astrophysics.
You think I can't talk about astrophysics for an hour? Bro, I love that stuff.
Okay, fine. It's going to be fucking, I don't know, sex positions.
I can talk about sex
there. Yeah, that one I'll just stay quiet. I'll let Harry take over.
I'll be like, all right, Adash, I'm about to drop some knowledge.
taking Granny to Applebee's.
Okay, well,
right.
I've never done that, so.
All I'm saying is, Greg, considering context you have, bit insensitive, but it's fine.
Oh, wow.
I waited for that.
Honestly, I have to applaud that one. That one.
Taking Grandpa to Applebee's. Is that better?
Yeah. What was I gonna? Right. So the reason I thought of this is it was just a Reddit thread, and we were discussing I forget exactly what it was, but the conversation eventually led to, can you focus if you're not using antidepressants? And I was like, I don't really like the idea of antipsychotic medication because from what I've heard, it doesn't do anything besides just numb you. And I'm like, I don't think that really helps. But then someone with ADHD was like, I did not even realize how bad my ADHD was until I was put on ADHD medication and like I can actually focus. Oh, that's what it was. The original topic was something along the lines of like being able to focus on a task for like a long period of time. And I'm like, I hate that, like, as I've gotten older, I just can't anymore. And they were like, I used to have that issue. And then I was put on ADHD medication, and now it's like, it's actually possible to focus. Right. And I was like, I've always wondered, like, my entire life, like, do I have ADHD? Because a lot of the symptoms are things that I, like, exhibited. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. But for the most part, it's the lack of an attention span, an overactive imagination, getting like jitters when you're forced to sit down for a long period of time. And it's like a lot of the, especially in India, like the concept of ADHD is basically non-existent. So nobody would have considered that when I was a kid. And like at the same time, yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, I think outside America, I think just mental diseases in general are just not really taken seriously.
Disregard
Europe is
a very serious thing. Yeah, I mean, like Western countries.
Western countries, bro. First generation immigrants are like, you have mental issues? Hell no, I'm gonna beat that shit out of you.
Just be better.
You can just
you wouldn't have these mental issues if you had A's.
It's like you have full control of that. There's no way. You're just full of shit.
It's all.
I'm just gonna be the. When I'm a parent, if I'm a parent, I'm just going to be the opposite of that. Just like, I'm going to be very concerned towards mental diseases, but any physical things, I'm just going to be like, just stop.
Yeah.
Son breaks his leg. It's just like, what are you doing? Just get up. Like, come on.
Put that back where it belongs, just so help me.
That's fake. You're making up shit.
Bro.
Your leg can bend in those directions.
The worst.
Just for science. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
For science.
What was I saying? So yeah, and since like so when I was younger, there would have been no. Okay, sorry. I need to preface this. So I listened to our last podcast. I listened to like the first 10 minutes, and I realized I say too often, and so every sentence I'm saying now, I'm going back in my head, and I'm going, did I say just then? And every time I do it, I'm like, fuck, I want to slap myself. So I'm talking, like, I can't keep any sentences in my head together this entire podcast because I'm just like, don't say don't do it, Adash, don't do it.
We'll make sure there's a counter in post.
You're gonna have
that sounds like pain.
Yeah, you're gonna have so much.
Oh, well, that means I have to listen through it twice. Yeah, no, never mind. I take that.
Right. Fuck again.
There's another one. Another one.
So, I did wonder. I was like, if anybody else is likely to have ADHD, it would probably be us. And what I was curious on is, and I never actually bothered to research this, is like me and Greg have had at length discussions about like how we hyperfixate on things. And I was I'm curious, like, if that falls under that umbrella. Because I think I've heard similar from people who have ADHD. It's like they also tend to, like, hyperfixate on one thing for a while. It's just always the wrong thing. And I've always wondered that. So, you know, since I didn't bother to do the research there, I'm just gonna do it now. Let's look up ADHD symptoms, and then
that's what I was gonna be like.
So let me talk about this a little bit. So
okay, go on.
I can't say I've done like an insane amount of research, and also I am definitely not qualified to talk like medically about this. But I have some of my own experiences plus my own research experiences with this because I have gone through many tangential experiences related to ADHD. So I definitely have a little bit of experience.
At some point in life, researched this, right?
Yes.
You basically have a degree, so speak with authority.
I did. Yeah, no. See, I didn't just look at 2 Reddit threads. I looked at like 3 Reddit threads.
Oh,
so
bro,
I basically have a PhD.
Absolute expert.
Okay, look, I at least did more research than the average journalist. Oh,
that's true.
So
he's in a thesis in this.
They just look at one Reddit thread. Yeah. So are we doing like personal stories yet, or are we having like a
you can do
general
whatever
discussion?
you want.
Is there structure? Okay, so I've been someone who always has been the guy that everyone's like, oh, he has to have ADHD. It's like when people thought of ADHD, they were like, oh, it's that guy. Like that guy is just symbolic of what ADHD is. And then this was especially prevalent with my parents' opinions on me, and then a lot of the things I did. They were just like, oh yeah, you definitely have ADHD. The thing is, my mom does like to say this about like everyone. Like I swear, anytime she's complaining about a student, she's like, they definitely have ADHD. And I'm like, it's not possible for every single one of your students to have ADHD. I mean, I guess it is possible, but it's a low chance.
Wait,
So,
what if she's the cause?
No, I think it's because she teaches primarily younger kids, and it's like younger kids are going to be distracted. It has nothing to do with ADHD.
No, that's the other reason. Is like, as a kid, it does not matter. Like no kid likes being sat down for 5 hours.
Exactly,
you can't really
exactly.
diagnose kids with ADHD.
No, yeah, because that's like super unfair.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was always the suspicions that I had ADHD, but like we talked about earlier, it's not exactly common to actually get it diagnosed and like go to someone about it in Asian families. So even though I'd say we're not like super Asian family, in some ways, this was definitely one of the ways that we were Asian families, that we didn't really do any therapy or like talking to doctors about mental illness or anything until it got to the point where it's like we had to. And we did get to that point. And when we did get to that point, I did get ADHD tested, and I won't tell the full story yet, but basically the conclusion was that they thought that I had ADHD. So I've taken ADHD meds in my life, and over several, like I did ADHD meds for a year, and then I stopped. And then even somewhat semi-recently, as in like within the last 4 or 5 years, I also took ADHD meds for about like 3 or 4 months, and then also stopped. So I can tell you my personal experiences with taking ADHD medicine, and it's nothing. I like literally both times that I'd done ADHD meds, they tried to increase my dosage. They tried different things every month. No, I didn't feel anything. The only thing I felt, and it was a very noticeable effect, was that I just didn't get hungry like ever. Like I was just not eating, and I was never. No, it's actually a very common side effect of ADHD meds, and a lot of people actually take ADHD meds when they don't need them as like a weight loss thing. Yeah, because it just works. It just makes you not hungry. You're technically not supposed to do that, but
yeah, that's not
a side effect of an Adderall, or
I think it might be, but I wasn't taking Adderall. I don't remember what I was.
I know
taking,
Adderall.
I would have remembered if it was Adderall.
Is Adderall just like discount meth?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's an amphetamine. I'm gonna look this up.
So it was just like months and months I was taking this, and I lost quite a bit of weight as I was doing it because I just didn't eat like anything. But that was like that was the only thing I noticed. Other than that, I was just like, I don't feel any different. like there isn't some sort of magical effect of suddenly being able to think clearly. I'm just fine. So I think personally I have like almost 100% diagnosed that I just don't actually have ADHD. And to get more specific about this, my issue was never really not being able to focus on stuff. It was just being very lazy about things that I don't care about. So it's like stuff that I didn't care about, it was hard for me to concentrate on, but it wasn't because I was incapable of doing it. I was literally choosing not to pay attention to it because I was just bored. But like the things that I do, like we talked about, like hyperfixate on and things that I do care about, like I can go on that shit for like 4 or 5 hours without even noticing, and I like never lose concentration. And if there's a problem, it's like I can follow that train of thought and continue breaking it down. Sometimes I do lose train of thought and it's really frustrating, but most of the time I'm able to go for a very long time without actually losing concentration. So I'm pretty confident that I don't have ADHD, but I have met people who definitely have ADHD, and seen them on meds versus off meds, and the difference is terrifying. They're like completely different human beings.
I've met people with ADHD, and then I've met people who were on ADHD medication before, but I've never seen the same person off and on.
Yeah,
so I actually can't say that.
Yeah, because most of the time, people who actually need it just consistently take it because it's such a huge change. Yeah. But it's like I saw someone who normally consistently takes it, but like in one instance, they were unprepared for a situation where they didn't have access to it. So they got very, very different as the medicine started to wear off. And I was like, oh my God, is this what it looks like when someone really has ADHD? Like, holy shit. For her, it wasn't just ADHD, to be fair. She had like 4 other mental illnesses she was taking meds for. So it was definitely not just ADHD, but that was one of the things. So
she got hit with all the negative status effects.
Yeah.
So the thing with ADHD is like the issue of not being able to focus on things. I was like you in that I used to just not care about the things I didn't care about, and then like if I actually wanted to focus on something, I could focus on something for long periods of time. But the issue is, I think that is no longer true. And so I'm like, again, I really should research these things, because I'm actually just realizing this as you're speaking. But I was like, I actually feel like I've developed that issue in the past like couple years, where I legitimately can't like sit down and focus on anything for more than like an hour at a time. Because there's a lot of things that I'm like, I want to start this, I want to do this, and then I just never get started because, like, I don't know, I'm like, I know I'm not going to be able to sit through it.
Right.
And even when I start, it's like, usually the hardest part for me is just starting something. I think that's the case for everybody.
Same. Yeah.
But once I get started, I'm like, all right, I've gotten through the hurdle, and then I just like, I rocket through the thing. But now it's not even true anymore. Like I get started, and then no progress gets made for like months, and I'm like, what actually is wrong with me? I'm like, I can't even call this laziness, because like I want to do it. It's not I'm not choosing not to do it because I'm lazy. It's so I'm just like, I'm confused. I'm like, why can't I do this? So I'm like,
I can't say with any certainty, but I think it's developable. From what I've heard is like it can like grow on you late in life. Like I've heard stories of people who didn't have any focus issues their whole like youth, and then like when they became an adult, they just completely lost the ability to focus on anything until they got medication for it. Once again, Reddit stories, so you know, accuracy can be very volatile on those sorts of things, but I don't know, I believe it. I think ADHD seems like one of those things that is definitely pretty hard to like consistently track in people, and like it doesn't always affect people the same ways. So I will say, I think ADHD follows the same issue. I know there's a term for it, but I think ADHD has the same sort of issue that like all diseases have, in that like physical diseases too, in that like the side effects and symptoms actually mostly are pretty general. So a lot of the time you see symptoms and you're like, oh, this is totally me, but it's like those are also symptoms of many other things, and it's easy to accidentally sort of gravitate to something.
It's like when you search up like skin itching, and then WebMD's like, you have skin cancer. You have 3 days to live.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think that's because I definitely remember before I started taking ADHD meds, in confirming that I don't actually have it, I definitely like went through a lot of the threads. I was like, oh my God, this is me. And I heard people's stories, and I was like, I literally lived this experience. This is so me. And then I took the med, and I was like, oh wait, it's not me. This didn't just fix me as a human being. I actually just had to just do better.
Yeah, it's like, no, you were just a lazy motherfucker.
Yeah, but that said, I do think a lot of people, I think everybody should be checked for ADHD, because I think it's pretty common in like autism and other types of like I don't want to call it a defect, but like mental differences. No, because I don't even think that's true. Like I think it's just like some people's brains work differently.
Well, you can I think it's a genetic deficiency.
Genetic mutation. I think it's one of those things where it affects people at different levels. So I think there are some people who have a little bit of it, and it's something they can manage. And then I think some people just have to take medication, or else they can't function as a human being. So I think everybody should get checked. So because it's definitely something that if you do have it to a strong degree, and you don't get checked for it, you can just waste a lot of years of your life that you could have been using productively.
Okay, so I've done a little bit more research. So One website says, although ADHD begins in childhood, sometimes it's not diagnosed until a person is a teenager or even adulthood. But two other articles say that ADHD can emerge in young adults. So it is possible to get it later in life.
Right. Yeah. That's what I figured.
Also, if go on.
Whenever I hear just ADHD or like we're talking about statistics about it, I just hear Jordan Lucas, what's it called, ISIS, the beginning of it, with the what's it called, the announcer lady talking about.
According to the
I forget the monologue,
studies.
But X amount of percent of kids have it, majority of boys, whatever, and then like X amount of percent are adults. I think it was like 3% of adults have it, which I feel like now would be
I think
larger.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot earlier, like I think studies on ADHD were super warped, like 15 years ago, or like I think back then everyone just thought all kids had ADHD just because they didn't realize kids are just like very naturally curious because that's literally their role as a child. So I think a lot of people were just like, it can't be that I'm a bad parent, it must be ADHD.
It's not my fault. It's theirs.
5% of adults. Okay.
Right. But I do think it's more common than people think. So.
Well, I think that's one of those. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, what are your experiences with ADHD, Harry? Because I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, I've never thought you've had. Any
Harry's the most normal out of us when it comes to
But then again, I don't really hang around you when it comes to like the work part of our lives, so I can't really say.
So Benea thinks I do have a little bit of it, or at least some to some to a certain extent, because. She's taking more psychology classes, and she's also probably spent the most amount of time
around you
throughout the days,
sorts of situations,
a whole different like moods and situations. Right. And I will say, like, when I'm on the phone with her, I am a spaz. Like,
there's just times where I was like,
uncontrollable.
Benea must have seen like the full side of you, and so she's like, this motherfucker, something wrong with him.
But see, I think where the issue with that lies is that I think you can control that. I think you can turn that on and off.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a spaz when you don't want to be a spaz. I think when you're a spaz, it's usually because you want to be a spaz.
So when there's like silence, or when there's like nothing going on, like if I'm just alone, I will either say things or do like there's been times when I've been like out on the road driving and I'll just start making noises. So you're just tweaking up.
Okay, but
that's not
okay. Maybe this is just my weirdness speaking, but I feel like, does everyone do that? Because I do shit like that.
Here's
it's
the
like
thing.
I'll go downstairs at like 4 a.m. in the morning, listening to like a YouTube video, and then just start mimicking their voices in the wrong like way, just like just like to myself.
You're
I'm like, man,
if
somebody was
I don't do that. But I think entertaining yourself when there's nothing to do. They've done like studies on this. I've brought this up multiple times to you guys before, but basically, like, they did a study where they stuck people in a room with literally nothing to do. It's like I think it was monocolor, so there wasn't even a difference in color to focus on. And then the only thing they left in the room was a button. And if you press this button, you get shocked. And after a certain period of being bored, like,
people were just clicking it
eventually,
on
like
purpose.
in the beginning, like when there's nothing to do and all you see is a button, of course you're gonna press the button, just to figure it out. And then you press it and you get shocked. You're like, okay, I'm not gonna press that button. But like, imagine, like, it's a light shock, right? Imagine for an hour there is nothing to do.
Yeah,
you're gonna press the fucking button.
So what you're talking about is just masochism therapy, just turning people into masochists.
I don't think it's
just
quite
like
that.
There's nothing left to do. Just let me hurt myself to get some sort of stimulation.
The point is less that and more that when we are bored, humans will literally choose pain over boredom. So I don't think that's any indicator of ADHD. And here's the reason why I don't think Harry has ADHD. Is Harry has way too much discipline. Like, if Harry decides a day in advance...
ADHD people do not have discipline.
If Harry decides a day in advance that he needs to get this, and this done, 3 things in one day, he'll get it done, and he'll have enough time in the day for other things.
That is true.
If I try to get 3 fucking separate things done in a day, there's no shot I leave enough time for anything else. If I even get those three things done.
I think it becomes a matter of importance because like some of this work I do or like certain like depends on how urgent it is. Like if it's one of my like kind of side projects, like one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm trying to repaint the side panel that for the other PC case. Adachi, you know what this is, and Greg, you should know this too. So I got the angle grinder and I meant to like grind it off and like get rid of all the like paint and stuff. I already done it, but like I meant to do it a while ago, and I just kind of kept pushing it back because I'm like I can always do that tomorrow. But certain things, I think, when it becomes like this needs to be done tomorrow, or else I'm never going to do it, or I pushed it off for too long. I need to get it done. I will get it done, and certain things are just more important than others, and I will do that. But I think the more I don't know if it's really ADHD or just a lack of focus, or maybe even caring, is like in class now. I can sit there, listen, and take notes and do whatever. Or it's maybe just an issue with my memory. But, like, as soon as I walk out the classroom, I'm sitting there like, damn, what did I just go through? Like, I have no idea what I just learned. And it's an issue because even for on subjects that I'm actually interested and care about, I walk out there like, damn, unless I look at my notes, I have no idea what we just went over.
See, I feel like part of that, though, is just the failing of the current education system. Because I feel like so much of current education is just memorize all these things. But as someone who's been teaching for like 5 years now, and someone who's also learned a lot about a lot of different skills, not well, mind you, but I've learned to like the beginning level of a bunch of different hobbies and things. I've found that, you don't really learn things from just reading or listening to someone talk about. Like, it's never been the tutorials that teach me the most. The tutorials are good to like guide me if I don't know how to do something, but like 99% of it is me just experimenting with shit and realizing how to do it like logically.
Everybody that has gone through a physics or a chemistry lab knows you learn 90% of the material from the lab and 10% of the lecture. The fact that it's 2 lectures in 1 lab typically, I think is stupid. I think it should be 2 labs, 1 lecture. Like the lecture is honestly pointless.
This is why I think like a lot of my students' parents get a really good impression of my style of teaching, because I'm very analytical and serious, and I think I do a pretty good job like lecturing about things and breaking them down. But like I know that's primarily for me, because I know the student is just sitting there dazed off in their own little world, just completely ignoring me. And it's like I know like the real like good way to teach not just kids, but I feel like anyone really, it's just my mom's way to teach, which is just hands-on, just constantly be like, having them do things like try it again, too low, too high, and just like yelling at them and shaming them for being bad, like that sort of thing.
I was with you. I am no longer with you.
No. But you get what I mean. It's just like I teach that way because it does satisfy me to some extent, and that's like just who I am. Like I have to teach that way. I don't think I could teach the way my mom does, but I think it's pretty obvious that her way is the right way just based on her results. Like hundreds and probably thousands of students by now, and then like almost all of them are extremely successful and like way better than any other teacher in like the whole fucking state in other states. And I think it just goes to show like hands-on teaching and like making them actually do things is like always going to be better than just talking at them.
It does surprise me how little people like work on this, because that's the thing is like my tutoring style back when I tutored is actually very hands off. I actually do not too
I try
much.
to, it's just I'm not good at it.
But like most of it is actually just making them do things, because the thing with children is like, I don't know, it's like when people say like, oh, the child doesn't get it, you're like, I think you're just not. You just
explaining it in a way, or showing them.
No, I think you're just giving up on them too easy.
And
like, if they get it wrong, make them do it again. And if they get it wrong,
and it's like, as a teacher, your job, like especially if you're doing just one student and not a whole class of students, it's like your job is to figure out how they learn things.
Exactly.
It's like all my students learn things differently. So it's like I try the same method, and if I can see that it's clearly not working, I just try a different way of explaining it. So like a lot of analogies, and if analogies aren't working, then I actually have them do physical things, and if physical things aren't working, I spank them.
Okay, all right.
Well, we actually absolutely shifted gears in that. Went from ADHD.
I think it's still related though.
Yeah.
No, it actually
because I think a lot of the blame that people place onto ADHD is just bad parenting / teaching.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people who think they have ADHD just have not experienced a real good teacher showing them the way to accomplish things.
That's why, like when I had the first like kid I ever had, they were like, yeah, he's just behind. Like they were like, he's very far behind in math and English. And so I made him do a test, and I realized, like, yeah, like, I had to keep telling him to focus on the test and to finish the test, because I needed to know, like, where he was at, and, like, he just wouldn't do the assignment. And then, like, he did it, and I was like, so everything he said he knew, he actually did it correctly, except, like, a couple things, and I was like, I wonder why, like, he's so far behind, and, like, when I actually started teaching him things, I realized, okay, so, like, he's really smart. He just will not focus for more than 5 minutes at a time.
Right.
And so, like, all I focused on was just, like, making him... Like, I think the hard part in school is when you know you're stuck there for 8 hours in a day, you just give up. You don't try. So, like, an hour is a lot more manageable for tutoring. What I do, instead of making him focus for an entire hour, is I'm like, all right, if you focus for 10 minutes... I didn't, like, implicitly say this, but, like, if he ever focused for, like, 10 minutes... he would eventually go off topic and ask me some other question. If he focused, I would humor him. And then, like, I'd humor him for, like, 5 minutes, give him a mental break, and then we'll go back to work. And eventually he figured out, like, that's how it works. It's like, do your work, you get a break. Don't do your work, it's just going to be miserable. And within...
I love that teaching technique. Just
and then,
motivation of
I think
time,
you do the same thing, yeah.
Like,
we've talked about this.
Certain
within 4 months, he was caught up. Within 8 months, he was ahead of his grade, and by the time I finished, he was 2 years ahead of where he was at. And he basically didn't need it anymore, because I just taught him how to focus, and he was fine.
Yeah, I was going to say a perfect example of this. Sorry, this is really off topic with what you were talking about, but a perfect example of this is just like I read a decent amount about the whole tire stuff, Harry. That we changed the one.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I read a decent amount about that, so I was like, okay, I know, I sort of understand the whole concept of like the bead and like breaking the bead and all this, but it's like I read all this and I had no concept of what that actually was. So this whole time, like, I thought I understood it, and I thought there was like an actual bead that you had to like snap or something. No. And then Harry actually came over and showed me. It's like I fully understand how it works now. But up until Harry just went and actually showed me like how to do it, it's like all the articles that I read like meant basically nothing to me.
See, that's
because it's just like it's just information that I can't understand because there's no visual or like hands-on perspective of it. So
you would have also learned more if you'd done it too. It's like
oh definitely. That's the biggest. For certain things, just need to be taught differently. You can't just teach it all the same lecture way. And I think that's the biggest thing that separates good and bad teachers is they have accommodations and different teaching methods.
Now,
so everyone gets a little bit of something.
I agree. But I do think it's important to give teachers a little bit of a break because like they have to teach a whole group of students and they're sort of forced into the point of you have to teach this subject for this many hours. Like they don't get to choose their style of teaching and actually try to help the kids in the best way possible.
I think it differs like in like elementary to like middle school. I think it will differ, and high school is also different. I think university level it will definitely fluctuate just because of. There's been too many teachers I've had that straight up just use a PowerPoint. And I'm like, that's...
Oh, God.
You cannot be teaching physics off of a PowerPoint. Physics and calculus cannot be taught off of a PowerPoint in a slideshow. That I will say that, and I'll stand by that. If you can learn off of that... kudos to you. You're fucking godly. But your boy cannot do physics off a fucking PowerPoint.
It's just...
Even if you could, it's just a dumb method.
It's not... This is the subject
Even
injustice.
if it works, it doesn't mean it's the best method.
Yeah.
The problem is just, like, I think it's, like, the concept is that, like, it's just the lowest common denominator of just, like, if you just teach them all this way, then it's the most efficient way. But I feel like that's not even true. Like, I feel like there are other ways to lowest common denominator it, but still have it help more people than it because like how many people actually can succeed in the education system as it stands today? I don't think there's that just by looking at how many people are
really,
actually educated. Well, okay. If we're addressing ADHD, I think the answer is Adash may have ADHD. Me and Harry don't have ADHD. I think that's.
I think education and ADHD is a very like tied in topic. So this is important.
And so I just think it's like there's definitely a better method. I think the current situation isn't just the lowest common denominator. I think it's also the cheapest and less like.
It's the least effort, 100%.
Way to do it, which sucks because I feel like, at least in my experience, teachers have always been pretty like good at least in terms of intention. Like they want to help the kids, but it's like they're just not given the tools to with the way that education is structured and managed. It's like all they can do is just the same thing that everyone always does, which is just read from the textbook, give them homework on like sheets of paper, PowerPoints. It's just like.
I'm not saying that, like, I have no empathy for the teachers or sympathy for them, because, like, they definitely do have it difficult. They have it rough because they spend so much unpaid time working on things.
To prepare.
But there's definitely some teachers who just don't care anymore.
I 100% agree. There are definitely some teachers.
But for the most part, I will
not
say,
even trying to break from it.
I will say, like, elementary and middle school, more teachers than not give a fuck. Like, they try.
Yeah, that's mostly what I'm. Yeah,
in high school, the main change is that, like, most of the time, the teachers only give a fuck if you show that you are good at it, which I think is a little tough because, like, I remember, like, some of my math classes, like, me and a couple of my friends would get preferential treatment because we were smart and we actually got things. So, like, if we didn't understand something, like, she would spend way more time and effort teaching us than if somebody else didn't get it. But at the same time, it's just more of, like, we got a lot more leeway. And I was just like, honestly, we're probably the kids that need it the least. So I'm like, it's difficult in high school though, because as a teacher you get so jaded after so many kids just stop trying that it's hard to separate the kids that genuinely want to learn but are just feel so far behind that they can't, and then also just the kids that just don't care.
Right, exactly.
Professors, I think there's zero excuse for how many of them are so fucking shit at their job.
Because professors have like way more power over the way that they teach, for sure.
Salary.
And they also get paid way more than the average public teacher. So I definitely agree. They definitely have a lot more responsibility to be doing better than
I had teachers in 8th grade getting paid $35,000 a fucking year who put more effort.
That are putting more effort into it.
You put more effort per week than some of my professors have per semester.
Like, the money crazy. The money just explains it, because it's like if you become a public teacher, you're doing that with the understanding that you aren't going to get paid shit. So most of those people are people who actually care because they're not doing it just for the money, because there's no money incentive. And then it's like being a professor, it's like there is a money incentive. So some of those people are just there for the money and they just fulfill their lowest responsibilities without actually caring.
Or there's no other job opportunities for them.
Another thing to keep in mind,
which isn't good, but
another thing to keep in mind is the difference between instructor and professor. Because this is actually very important. Professors are primarily at a institution, like a college,
university.
At a university for research. So their primary job is research, but they have to teach classes as well. Instructors are there exclusively. This is a huge difference. Most people don't. I didn't know about this till computer architecture when my instructor explained this. My professor explained this to me. And he was like, "This is why you might notice that most of your professors are dog shit." He didn't say it like that. He didn't say it. I'm paraphrasing. He's a very nice man, but he did explain it, and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. But essentially, what it is professors. Like obviously, most professors do research at a university, but that's their primary goal. Like the reason they go to like especially big universities, it's like they have money, they have funding.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah,
but they don't actually like the classes are secondary, so they don't actually care a singular fuck about the students. And I don't want to put all professors into this category because like some of them,
there are definitely
some of them genuinely love the classes and they put in so much effort. Like I've had a couple of professors that are like so good, and like they deserve like they deserve their spot and like their 5-star on Rate My Professor and everything. But most of them don't. I'm gonna be real with you. Like in my experience, most of them don't. But instructors,
I mean, there's very, I mean, outside of just the compassion in their hearts, there's not much actual incentive for it. So,
yeah.
Especially with both of the things that we mentioned, there's 2 big reasons not to be a good teacher or to be a good professor. So, it's kind of rough.
What I've actually found though is if the field is highly specialized, there's a higher likelihood that you actually get a professor that cares. Because it's probably because go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's probably because they're more passionate about the subject.
Yeah.
So even if they don't care about teaching specifically, they're gonna be more passionate in their way of sharing it, and they don't want it to be boring because it's something they care about.
Yeah,
so,
that's the thing. They want people to care.
Yeah.
But calculus 1, calculus 2, like lower order physics classes, lower order calculus classes.
Yeah,
bro, they do not care. They're like, your dumbass can figure it out, and if you do, then maybe you can take one of my other classes, and I'll actually give a shit. But
I guess to be fair, like basic calculus, basic physics, and basic like chemistry and biology, they are the building blocks. So there's not much to like. You can make them interesting. However, if you can't grasp the concepts or be able to like do it well, understandably, if your teacher actually doesn't do anything, then that sucks. But if they're giving you resources and they like present the information and you can't grasp it or understand it with like extra shit, you're not in the right field. You're not doing the right thing.
But I disagree. All right, let me explain really quick why I disagree. I think professors do so little. And like their method of or their explanation is you're in college, figure it out, and they give you resources, but I don't know like how often you actually look at these resources because let's be honest, we both don't really need them that often.
Hell no.
But I have looked at these resources before, and they're fucking shit. Like it essentially the method doesn't change. The explanation is essentially the same. It's done by somebody, with an extremely thick accent in 2010 fucking YouTube times. I'm looking at 3 pixels speaking to me. Like, it doesn't work. You can't say, like, oh, this child is, having difficulty with calculus. Just go look it up online, lol. That's not enough.
I don't think that's not exactly what I'm saying. Because it's like, yes, if the teacher is absolute dog at explaining things and everything surrounding them that to present the information is, dog shit, then... well, that just sucks. But I think for basic calculus, physics, and chemistry, biology, there's enough good resources out there that even if your teacher is dog shit, well, if your teacher is dog shit, that just sucks. And hopefully you can figure it out and you're teaching yourself more than that. But like from my experience, most like chemistry, biology, and like physics teachers, They do enough to the point where you could grasp it. Maybe they could do that little extra. If you go to office hours, do whatever TA. I've actually only been to the what's it called, at CP, which is a community college by me. I got my associates from. I actually did go to like one of their like help study sessions for like for one of my calculus work for homework. And it helped. I think I got the homework done. The funny thing, I'm pretty sure the guy who was helping me was a professor. I think it was one of his homeworks, and he got the answer wrong and looked over and was like, this does not seem right. that was funny. But I think if you cannot get these basic like core classes, you got to either rethink your approach to it or your thinking about it, because to me these core classes are the basis.
I have an opinion about this.
I think
I'm more of middle of the road between you two, because I think what it is, and I think Harry is actually the perfect example of this, because we look at our friend group and all of us pretty much unanimously point to Harry as the guy who knows the things, like just when it comes to just general knowledge. Like if you need help with something, even if Harry's not like amazingly versed at it, he can probably figure it out. And I think there's a very strong reason why, and this is the exact reason why Harry has this opinion. I think learning is a skill that you have to learn.
Yes.
And I think Harry, because of your life experiences, you're really, really damn good at learning things. Like,
I was gonna say this,
even if you had no teachers for anything, I think you could take every resource available and figure it out on your own. Even if there weren't any resources available, I think you could use your logic in experimenting to still figure out a lot of things just based on the way that you understand how to figure out how to do things.
You're speaking from a point of privilege that you don't understand is a privilege because you think it's expected.
I suppose because
kind of a privilege, but it's
understand.
It's that ability through necessity, because Harry was forced into the position of having to figure out how to do all these things by himself, like repair the house, thing with that pay for taxes, do all these things. Like he was put into a situation where you either learn how to do it or else you're just fucked. So I think as a result, Harry's really good at learning, and that's probably why you have that opinion about things. And then there are people who have just been cushioned their whole lives, and I definitely was a big example of this until semi recently. But like I think it's just like you never really need to go out of your way to learn things. Things are just taught to you.
But here's the thing:
information is just in your lap.
The other side to that is, I think our friend group, like, I'm not trying to suck each other off, boys, but let's be honest here, right?
I'm trying to suck each other off.
We are not average intellect. Like, anytime me and Harry have been
superior,
anytime me and Harry have like been in a class together or like had the same subjects, we have always gotten we have always grasped the subject, even if it's not one we like. We've always grasped what to do faster than everybody else. Maybe occasionally there's like 2 or 3 people that like keep up, but no one's ever just straight up better than us at any class we go to. And Greg, it's like you're not, like, not to be rude, but like academics isn't like your thing.
No, it's not at all. No.
But like I think you're discounting how insanely good your rate of learning is too, because
compared to other people,
it's way higher.
Up to a certain point, like I had just had the same experience you guys did, and what caused that to fall off wasn't my ability to learn falling off. It was just my personality defects that caused that. So I don't think that part of my personality has changed. I do think if I actually put the work into it, I could definitely.
And I don't think it's the same for other people.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, it's not. No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't recognize that till like a year ago, but realistically speaking, what we do isn't normal. You can't be like given a topic and then just learn about it as quickly as we are used to. And I realize I judge people a lot based on that. And like in reality, it's like, get good, but also a little bit of empathy.
Do you know what the easiest way to figure this out is? I mean, okay, this is not maybe 100% accurate of an experiment, because content creators are content creators and a lot of them are just really dumb, but a lot of them are just normal people. And then like so many times, and I think this is something that really does, and I'm glad to suck everyone off together, but I think something you'll find is when we pick up new games or new like anything, pick that shit up fast. We and not only do we pick it up fast, we even pick up strategies and stuff like very quickly. And then it's like we reference like the wikis and stuff to get information that we don't know about, and then we immediately use that information to come to conclusions about the best way to do things. Therefore, it's like we play 7 Days to Die for like 20 30 hours and we have the whole game figured out. Like we already know how to get to the end game, and we didn't, after we died like the first a couple times, we almost didn't die at all after that, because we just fully understood how the game worked.
Bro, we were like, why is why is no one struggling with day 21? And then we figured out it's because the game compensated us for us reaching endgame when we should not have even been close. Bro.
Yeah. Because we advanced it way too quickly. So I think it's like, I like you were saying, it's like up until a certain point, I thought that was what everyone was supposed to be able to do, and then some people were just slacking. But I didn't really realize until I started watching more and more content creators that I was like, it usually takes them longer to like come to understandings and conclusions about some aspects of the games that I consider immediately obvious once I learn like the base mechanics. So it's like I watch a lot of content creators and I'm like, why how do they not understand that you're just supposed to do this? And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just being a little bit presumptuous about their ability to learn things.
Right? And then I saw like a content creator who I don't even think is dumb. I don't even think he's dumb. I think he's actually he's faster at picking things up than other people. But just like watching them play, because like he's actually better than me in terms of like gunplay, but just like the lack of understanding and like the period of days it took before he like finally like caught up to speed. And it's like, you know, I could use the excuse of, oh, I had Greg to tell me everything, but he was playing with somebody that was like very well versed in Overwatch. What they were doing. So it's like I was like,
that's why it's like, for you, I think it's just like aim, like mechanics. But like in terms of like understanding that you're not supposed to push forward by yourself when the whole team is dead, like you learned that pretty much day one, and that's something people play for 500 hours and still don't learn in that game.
He's got some of the strategy down. Now it's just a skill issue.
It is. No, it actually is a skill issue, and it's also just a motivation issue. Because I can guarantee if I just like grinded the aim maps for like 30-40 hours, I think I wouldn't keep up with you two. That's not happening. But I would definitely not be like low on the scoreboard anymore. But I just don't
aim
care.
Training is
I just don't care.
You just gotta find an FPS game that you actually enjoy a shit ton, and if you just play the shit out of it,
that, and then you'll just be better.
That essentially becomes your aim trainer, because you don't technically need an aim train. Just putting hours into it and you know, honing that in technically is the best, because aim trainer can only train so much. It can't train like human movement. And how stupid humans can be in their movement.
Bringing this back to ADHD.
Holy shit, we're so good at this.
I don't want to like call her out, but like I always have thought that my sister has ADHD, and it's like, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing. Once again, I think it's just something that if you do have it, you could help yourself by getting medication. But anyway, so I've always thought she had ADHD, and it's like when I realized that I thought that she had ADHD, like when I started hanging out with her, I started to realize like there's no way that I have it, because the way that she acts sometimes that causes me to think that, it's like that's never happened to me, and it's such a strange thing to observe as someone who doesn't have to go through those things, that like I'm pretty confident that it's ADHD, which is that whenever we're talking, she cannot maintain concentration on the conversation. Like literally like 4 minutes will go by and we're talking to each other, and then I'll see her eyes like literally glazing. Like I didn't, like, you read about people's eyes glazing in books, but like you don't really like see someone's eyes glaze. But I actually saw my sister's eyes like just straight up just like fucking
Greg, have you considered that she just finds you dead fucking boring?
No, but the thing is, like, literally I'll talk for like 5 or 10 seconds, like not even a long time, and then and it happens so consistently, and it's never because like she just like loses interest, and I know this because there's always a cause. There's always something that causes her to lose concentration, and it's always something that has never affected me when I'm talking to someone. So it will always be either my parents talking like far enough away that it's very easy to tune out for, I feel like, most people, but like she will immediately be grabbed by their conversation like without even having the choice to do it, or like there will be something outside that she'll see that like completely grabs her attention. It's like the whole like butterfly meme where it's like, oh, there's a butterfly, it's like, oh, it's ADHD, but it's like, I thought that was a joke, but my sister actually sometimes like kind of does that, and I asked her about it because I was like, this is really strange, like this never happens to me, and she was like, yeah, it's like I am trying to listen to you, but sometimes I just can't, like sometimes my brain just like latches onto something else, and I literally have no control over that. And I was like, that's so interesting. So it's like I've learned
so awful though. Can you
I know, and that's why I was like, I feel like your life would be so much better if you had some medication for that, because like then you would be able to concentrate on stuff for long periods of time.
So this is I'm going to jump in on this and say this is actually something I have an issue with as well. So this is probably why Banana thinks I do have ADHD, because whenever we have talk and conversations, there's only so long I can go without, all right, I need to either start touching something, moving around, fucking around with something, look at something else.
Are you still listening though?
I am listening, but at the same time, it's like I can't just listen and look at the phone. It just starts bugging me out, and I have to touch something or do something.
But else. That's why I don't think that's ADHD necessarily. Because as long as you're still listening, as long as you're still listening, I think that's one of those like maybe not nervous habits. I don't think that's the right word for it, but I think some people just have to
it's like a
move.
focus issue type of.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like energy dissipation. Like you just have energy that you need to get rid of. So this will bring me back to
because can you think about how many people walk when they are on the phone? Like,
yeah. I do that. Like I pace and stuff. So so it's like this actually brings me back to the original story that I said I would say for later. So here's how the testing method for ADHD went. It might be different now because this was like a pretty long time ago, like 7-8 years ago. So maybe the research was less well developed back then, but at least this is how they tested me. So I walked in and there's this pretty big room. It's like the size of like a kindergarten room. Maybe that's not a good reference because I don't know how many people. I don't know how many people. No. The reason why I make that analogy is because it looks like a kindergarten room, super colorful. There's like toys and stuff everywhere, and I think the obvious point of that is to try to distract you because they're testing you for that. So they're trying to have a lot of interference in the room that would cause someone with ADHD to get distracted.
Yeah, if you walk into that room and you jerk your head around like you're on 280 ping. Like,
but that's why it's but for me it's like because I was like I wouldn't say I was nervous, but just like as someone who is like sort of half introverted, it's like at least like I was more just like I just sat down on the couch and stared at the table. I was not like looking around like crazy. But anyway, so we did that, and then she took me to a computer, and this was the vast majority of the test. I'd say this was like 90% of the test, at least in terms of time. So she took me to a computer, and then there was basically this quiz slash like almost like a game sort of thing where it just made you do a lot of focus based tests. So like it was always like a little confusing on purpose to like make sure that you're really paying attention. So like one of those things where it's like it says the word blue, but the word blue is red, and then you have to hit red. Like that sort of thing.
Like those are dumb.
Yeah, like those sort of like kind of confusing, like you understand the concept but it's annoying because you have to pay attention. So basically those sorts of tests, and it was like a good like 10 minutes constant of just these tests, and she left the room too. And I very distinctly remember halfway through the test, a Windows notification popped up, like a pop-up, like right on the corner of the screen, and it was like saying like click on this or something. I don't remember. And I remember in that instant, my brain was like, "Is this part of the test?" Like I was trying to like metagame it. I was like, "Am I supposed to click on the notification, or am I supposed to just ignore it? Is this part of the test, or is this just like an actual notification?" Like, this was what I was analyzing.
Impossible game.
Yeah. As I was doing the test, I was just staring at that box, but I don't think my performance really dipped much seeing that because like my brain was like, this is definitely part of the test. I'm gonna concentrate even more now to beat this. So that happened. I never got the answer for that. I don't actually think it was part of the test because it did look like a legit Windows notification, and I feel like normally when people try to do like tricky shit like that, it's always like a bad version of Windows. Like it's not actually looks real. So I'm pretty convinced it wasn't real, or that it was real, but I mean, I guess I'll never know.
Wait, so that means they were so poor at setting up a test window that they didn't turn off Windows notification. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it was.
That's crazy, especially for that long ago.
Yeah, but the thing is, so I'm confident that I did well on that test because I was answering all those questions and like I was not confused or like hesitant. I was like, oh, I know these, and I was just filling everything in. So I finished the test and I was sitting on the couch waiting for my results, and then she came in and then talked to me about how I passed the test in terms of like not having ADHD, but she thinks that I probably have ADHD just based on like my leg not being able to stop moving like while I was sitting on the couch,
and
like me and me like looking around sometimes like instead of just like staring straight forward. And I was like, what did you expect me to do? Dumb. Just fucking sit completely still and stare straight ahead like a doll? Like I don't think it's normal for a human being in that situation to just sit completely still and stare straight ahead. I think that's more creepy than normal. I think a normal human being looks around and like is a little bit nervous in a situation like that. So that's how I got prescribed to ADHD medicine, because my leg was moving.
I would get put on ADHD meds so quick. You know what actually happened? They would just sit me down in a room, and then like they would take forever like setting up the test. And before they set up the test, they'd be like, "Yeah, you have ADHD." Because I would be just like I would be so bored that I would just be trying to find something to like fill the time,
right.
and they'll just be like, "Yeah, you have ADHD."
So in conclusion, I just think ADHD is still not super researched, or not fully understood at least. But I do think, at least from what I've seen, there's more people have ADHD than I think most people realize. And I think it is a pretty big issue for the people who do.
And then I think it also becomes a spectrum of how severe and how much it actually affects you.
Like, I think for some people it's not a big deal. And then for some people, they cannot live without medication.
And then how much is actually treatable from that spectrum.
Yeah.
That's one of those things, because there have been times I wonder if I had, if the on and off chance I do have ADHD, which Banana, she's on set on saying, and we're on the edge.
I don't think you do.
Yes,
at least
no.
not from what I've seen.
At some point when I actually do go to a doctor, I'll probably
you should
get tested.
Test anyway.
Whenever I actually go to a doctor, though. But like I have wondered sometimes, like, if I was on ADHD medicine, what would change about my life, or like what could I think straight? Could I like that makes me sense.
That's actually a very good metric. That's a good point. What do you even realistically fix? Because you don't struggle to get shit done.
So this is what I'm talking about. It's like, that's why this is why I don't think Harry has ADHD. But that's why it's like, going back to like my sister's situation, it's like, I actually haven't talked to her much about her actual like practicing and like focusing on stuff. But at least just in conversational, it's like, I know for a fact that what it would change if she actually does have ADHD is just that instead of like not being able to maintain like concentration on a single like conversation, she would just be able to, because it's like all three of us, like throughout this entire hour or so, have been basically like, at least me, maybe I lost like 2 or 3 things that someone said, but other than that, I've been catching everything everyone said and understanding it and reacting to it. But it's like in my sister's situation, it's like I feel like she physically cannot. Like at some point her attention just gets grabbed by something else, and it's not her choice. Like it's not like she's just getting bored and she just like dazes off. Like she literally just gets grabbed by other things that are happening.
That would suck. Like that.
Yeah. So I think it would just fix that for her. Yeah. And from what I've seen, the most severe cases of ADHD is just that. Like people cannot like focus or study or do anything for like longer than a few seconds before their attention just gets grabbed by something, and they just are completely incapable of actually doing it. But I think it is a different severity for different people, and it does show up differently with different people.
It's definitely not like you have it or don't. It's not binary. It's definitely a spectrum.
But I think of all the people I know, I think Harry's one of the least.
I think Harry
ADHD.
I actually
just based on your ability to actually learn things so well and concentrate on it. I think you have other issues.
I think certain things, there's a lot of things, but I think certain things, I think it just comes down to how much I actually care about it. Because right now, I think that's the biggest thing. Certain classes, I'll be engaged in the beginning. But once I realize this means nothing to me in the future, I stop giving a shit about the class.
But I think that's my normal human reaction.
That's true. Yeah. My effort towards the class just like drops to 0, and I just do the bare minimum so I can pass and get it over with. Just because I'm like, I want to do things that actually interest me and also that I feel could actually apply down the line. And I think that's a whole, that might be something we talk about later with education majors and courses, because
now I do think Harry does have brain issues, and I think it all stems from the concussions.
That's definitely possible.
I think Harry's brain has just been battered into a certain state of
No, I was gonna say, it's like Greg said, I think you have other issues, and I'm like, I disagree. I know you have other.
I was like, wait, you disagree?
I would stake my life.
I disagree to agree.
I'll even go so far as to stake my brother's life on this. I actually care about his life. That's how confident I am.
Oh man, he says I put down everything I own.
No, actually, though,
everything.
Like 100%. But no, I when I said, like, do we have ADHD, I knew it was just the two of us.
Ever since I've known Harry, even before the concussions, you've always had, like, the energy siphoning that you need to do.
That's
like,
true.
It even, like, affects me sometimes. Like, I sit next to you on the couch, and I feel the whole ass thing vibrating, and I'm like, bro, I did not buy a vibrating couch. What is happening? And I look over to Harry, and it's just like, oh my god, his leg is tweaking.
That's just some of the spastic behavior I have.
Yeah. But
I
don't think that's
really
ADHD. I think because you've always done that.
Okay, so that's just a whole bunch of energy.
Yeah, but it's like that. I do that too, but in different ways. I mean, mine is at least not as rapid as you, but like for me, like even right now, like if you recorded my chair, it would like as I've been doing this podcast, it would just become a blur if you zoomed it up, because I'm just going left and right and left and right and left and right and left and nonstop. So it's like, and also it was funny because back when I used to have violin lessons, my mom would record them, and then all my teachers talked about this, and they're like, why do you like sway from your left foot to your right foot all the time and like always go like back and forth and back and forth, and then it's like if you, and the funny thing is, because if you look through those recordings and then zoom it up, I'm just like I'm just going from one foot to the other just constantly. Just a pendulum. And then that was a strong reason why my mom thought I had ADHD. But the thing is, like, during those lessons, the reason why all of my teachers didn't despise me, despite the fact that I didn't practice a single minute in like 10 years of learning violin, is because I learned things so quickly because I listened. Like everything they said, I would pick up immediately and then immediately forget once I left because I didn't care. So that's why they would yell at me at the beginning of the next lesson, because they'd be like, you did it perfectly last time in the lesson, how are you messing this up now? And it's because like, well, I didn't maintain the information because I didn't care about maintaining the information. But but it's like all they have to do is demonstrate it, and it's like I'm able to focus on everything they're doing and copy it, which was like why everyone was like, oh, you're so talented. And it's just like I'm just like a fast learner in that way. And I think we talked about that. It's just we all are pretty good at picking things up quickly.
Yeah. I think
it's just whether we choose to.
We actually have the most OP skill in life in general, and we are all finding a way to wasting it.
No, for real.
I don't think that's a coincidence, though. I think a lot of people who have that ability to learn things quickly rely on it too much and then become kind of.
It is a crutch in a sense because. Other people who don't have this, like I've noticed the people that are successful but don't have this sort of like talent.
Yeah, they had to work so hard to get to it.
And they also they structure their lives because they know in order to get to a point in their life where they to the point in their life that they want to be, they need to have structure because you can't just do everything last minute. But I can't, so why would I need structure?
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like because there's no reason to push us into using our abilities, we just don't. Yeah. So it's just wasting by the wayside.
No, that's the thing. It's like if there's ever a time where like I need to do something, I just increase the amount of effort I put in until it's done, and then I just cannot bring myself to like keep the same level or even like drop it a little bit but maintain something close to that. I go from 0 to like 80 back to 0 and then back to like 80 and then back to 0.
Yeah.
But like never maintain it. So it is
See,
a crutch,
the problem is that we're all pretty similar in that way. We don't have a differing opinion or a differing perspective because we're all kind of like that to some extent. At least Harry actually does stuff even though he has the ability to learn things quickly, but we don't have someone here that like doesn't have the ability to learn things quickly.
It's why I respect like how good Benea is at these things, because like she was the like she always did say it. She was like you two do learn faster than me, but she's a lot better at like structure and getting things done because
I mean this is for my family that's my sister. It's just like she was never the one in the family that everyone was like, oh, so talented, but she was the one that was putting in 6 hours a day every single day, like barely eating and sleeping, just constantly working to the point that she literally got hives from stress and overworking. And it's just like
okay, like that's a little
she's
too
that
far.
Person. Like no, she's the person that you have to put into therapy to learn how to work less hard because she's killing herself from it. So it's like that's why it's like so it's like I've always respected her for that because I'm the opposite. No, exactly. So and we definitely need to get my mom on the podcast for some point because she has a million stories.
That would have to be a
she has so many stories.
Though. That would be
bro, I can't swear in front of your parents.
I mean, for you guys, you might want to censor a little bit. I don't know, but for me, I cousin for my parents now, and they just don't care because I've just done it so many times.
I mean, I don't even need to try. Like, I switch off the part of my brain that curses. My parents are.
Me too.
I just can't. Yeah. It's too long.
Right.
It's just one of those things. But yeah, so actually this I meant to like say this earlier, but the whole thing about us just being able to pick up whatever we need to learn as we need it. The past class I actually had today, that was the last class for it today. My introduction to electromagnetic waves and it's just electromagnetics basics.
That sounds fun.
The tests are open note, so whatever notes you have, you have them and you can use them. And the thing about that for me is I don't remember shit from class, but as long as I have some reference of how to do things, I can figure it out and take how those relations and apply it to other stuff. Yeah. And for the first test, this was amazing for me because I had on my test. It wasn't as organized actually as I had for my second half, but the issue I had with my second exam, there's only 2 exams. So the second half exam, the issue I had was there's a couple where I didn't actually have examples of. And I had all the notes, and I'm sitting here looking through my shit like I couldn't find anything that really referenced it perfectly. And with that, I just couldn't piece it together. There's a couple things that I lost time on because of this organization. Overall on the test, I could have done better, but there was just a bunch of things that I straight up looking back, I'm like, yeah, I don't have notes or any examples on this, so I was kind of screwed. out of it anyways. Probably could have figured it out if I maybe studied, but that was just one of those things. I remember my friend, one of my classmates who's in that class, he was like, so you gonna do any late night studying? I was like, nah, as long as I have my notes, I'm fine. He's like, I hate you for that. I hate you so much. That was just and I was just like, what can I say? Like, because on the first exam he flunked it. I'm talking mad shit. Actually, it's not really shit, but like I feel bad for him because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he passed it or not, because he did poorly enough on the first exam that if he didn't get like a 95 on the second exam, he wasn't going to pass.
I think that's why me and you just get we get overrated a lot in our ability.
Yeah, that's
because people assume people are assuming how smart we are based on if we worked as hard as they do. Oh, because there are other people like our female friends, for example, like they call us super smart, and our close female friends, they work really hard. And so they assume it. They just go like, you have a lot of potential.
You, bleep. Do better.
They're like, so they look at us and they go, "You two have so much potential." They're like, all right, if you just put in the work, you're fine.
Bro,
what they don't understand
so much. That word is my whole ass fucking life. Just the potential. You have so much potential. It's like, don't talk to me about my potential.
I hate that. That was one thing that kind of irked me.
I mean, like at this point in my life, I think I think people often shame people like us because it's like, oh, you have all this talent and you're not using it, and I think it's unfair because I feel like it's like at this point I've understood that it's not as much of a choice as we like say it is, because I think there's a lot of mental obstacles that stand in the way of the things that we're talking about that you can't really understand unless you're also somebody who has gone through this. And it's like, as someone who has, man, it is really, really, really hard to work hard on something that that you can get done in like a few seconds if you really set your mind to it.
Bro, the procrastination is addicting.
and it's so much that I really think people don't understand, because I had so many teachers that were just like, why can you not do it? Like, why can you not just practice like 10 minutes a day? If you did that, you'd be a god. And I'm just like, but you don't understand. For me, practicing 10 minutes a day is as hard as it is for someone who isn't talented to practice like 2 hours. At least from my point of view. Like, it really is that hard to muster the motivation. And it's not like I'm sitting here.
Like,
I'm not like
If anyone listens to this podcast, bro, they're gonna be like, oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like I think it's underrated actually how difficult it is, because it's like people think that when we're not doing it, that we're just like sitting here like, haha, I'm having fun and letting my talent carry me, and it's like, no, we feel bad about this kind of stuff. Like
the stress you feel
a
is
huge
unreal.
a huge part of my depression and like low self-worth when I was a teenager was because I was like, I'm garbage. Like I have all this talent, but I can't even do a fraction of what other people can do in terms of like working. And it's like, I wish I was even a functional, like 1% of a functional human being. But it's like now I have a more level-headed perspective on it. It's like there's plenty of people in that position, and it's like so many of us go through those same issues. Not saying it's like it's any worse than people who have to work hard. I just think it's different. But I do think it's unfair to be like, oh, well, it's easier for you guys because you're talented and you can just work a little bit and be. I
think we're also not saying we don't pity us, but it's not like because the thing with that is like if you ever bring it up, you just get like other people will just go, oh, I'm so jealous of you. I wish I had your
it seems like such a first world problem.
But you don't though. Like if you had this problem, you would understand how fucking like crushing it is.
And I think I'm like the extreme example of how bad it can really get with somebody who like has a lot of like ability to learn things quickly but relies on it too much to the point that like I can't function and do things that other people consider easy to do, like chores and like basic stuff like that. It's like at the lowest point of my life, it was so bad. Like I could not do anything. Like I couldn't brush my teeth, like shower. I couldn't do anything. Everything was such a huge amount of effort for me to do, because it was just like, as a human being, I was so used to things just being able to be easy and done so quickly and effortlessly that like anything that took even a little bit of effort was just like fucking it was so much harder for me to gain motivation to do. And that's how the whole Star Guides thing happened. It's just like it got worse and worse and worse and more extreme until the point that it just like exploded several times in a row.
With all that being said, I pose a question. Would you trade it for the other issue?
No.
I
think now it's like thinking about it. I mean, with Greg and all that stuff, I don't like teachers, saying that stuff. But as long as you do enough to make sure that you're good and you're not like, you're not on the streets or you're not flunking things out, life is pretty easy. There's definitely a mental work around it, because you have to make
you're
sure.
The problem. You're the reason why everyone thinks we're assholes.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, life is pretty simple and pretty easy. Like you just gotta actually concentrate. I mean,
the thing is, that
such a small fraction of your time.
It does cause a lot of mental issues and stuff like that. But
the laziness really stacks.
Right, when it is helpful, it's so helpful. It is so convenient to be able to pick up things.
As long as you structure yourself and make sure that you list out all the things that you need to get done, get them done, and space. I think the biggest thing is you don't have to overload all day. And this is the thing with just people in general. They like to plan all these things for a whole day. They look at the list, it's like, damn, there's a whole lot of shit I get done, and they just never do it because they're just procrastinate. It's like you gotta siphon out your time out of every day and do a little something here and there. And the thing is, like, you just do it as someone who has this kind of like mentality. Yeah, you just one day just do it real quick. It's like 5-10 minutes.
Harry,
and I'm back on the game, and I'm like fucking shooting noobs.
Harry is just flexing his ability to be a responsible human being.
That's the thing, is that's one of the things that when you have this kind of issue, you have to like learn that. And
you do.
Well, so this is the thing. It's like, I think as much as I hate the word potential, I've always, or now at least I see it like this. It's like, if you have talent, you have less of a chance to be a hard worker because of all the things we talked about. But someone with talent and someone who works hard with talent is always going to do better than someone who just has hard work. I mean, that's just the way it works, and it is unfair. But also, I think it's also fair in the fact that we have bigger obstacles to get to that point.
So what I was going to bring up is, I think we have the potential for lower lows, but also the 100%. Upward ceiling is way higher.
Higher.
It's like I could crash and burn, but if I figure it out, like, and I have like, I'm not confident I will, there's a very high chance I never do. Thanks.
Yep. Yeah.
But if any of us figure it out, like,
oh yeah,
life is a wrap, right? Like,
right.
If I could actually, and it sounds so simple, but like, if you can get past the mental block, and you can actually like focus every day and get things done and like be productive every single day, bro, we would actually be millionaires.
And it's like, you know, we're not saying like life is immediately easy once we beat, but it's just like leveraging our potential. Is always going to be more successful.
Bro, this is such a like a fucking
honestly, like this is kind of.
Like some
I feel like such an asshole talking about things like this.
Like, thinking about it's like, oh,
this is just my perspective on things, and it's like I'm not saying this is the way it works. This is just personally, this is how I have learned.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't trade it. Yeah. But I think there's a higher chance that I crash and burn than there is that
I think there's always a higher chance that people with high, like in our situation, crash and burn than people who don't. Yeah,
but I'd rather gamble the dice on that.
I was about to say, I think what this reveals is that we're all just gamblers.
Yeah, no.
Like, we're all just willing to gamble everything on the small chance that
I think anybody would take it. I think all the people that don't understand what we like, what it's like to be like stuck in that mental block, I think even if even if they understood everying, they would still rather be in our position. And I can't say I blame them. I think most people would pick this.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a privilege. I'm not saying it's totally balanced and it's like, we have it as hard as you guys. It's like, no, I mean, I think we have obstacles that are just as insurmountable and sometimes even more insurmountable. But then we likewise have things that are way easier for us to get across than it is for them. So it's like everything balances out to some degree. I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect 50-50, but I do think...
I think
we definitely have a lot of advantages.
The only complaint I ever have is just the fact that it's always downplayed. Like, if I ever bring up an issue that I'm like, I can't focus, they're like, well, just focus, forehead. And I'm like,
yeah. No, it's always like whenever like you have issues like this, people always treat it as if it's like a just do better.
Like, laziness.
Come on,
like
it's
like
easy.
First generation Asian.
And I'm like, it's not just easy
better
to surmount. Yeah, it really is definitely is not. Yeah, and then getting especially in Asian families, it's like getting compared to other people who are not on the same side as you, like who are on the other side, and then getting compared to them. It's like you can't compare us. Like it's very different issues.
Yeah.
It's very unfair.
One thing I was worried about, and it didn't happen too much, but actually it was actually cleared up by for my little sister. She goes to the same school that I went to in high school, and that was the one thing I was like, we are very different in the way we think, and like
which is interesting because that suggests it's not genetic. Because Greg also says the same thing about his sister. My brother is the same as me. I will say.
So I think it's a mixture because my older sister and Scarlett are probably more similar in their way to think than I'm. You know, I'm different. Just built different, bro. But with that, you know, Scarlett's had a very different upbringing than I have. But this will probably be a whole conversation later. That we can go into, but. The way she is in the way she does work is very different than how do I do things, and she's not like I'm doing engineering, right? So I you know, analytical math logic is literally all down my alley. She's who knows what culinary and I think she's doing IT or coding work just because it's
that's
money.
Still logic based.
But it's not because she wants to. It's because there's money in it, and the main thing she wants to do.
But also same though, culinary. And I have a degree.
But like that's the thing, and so that was one thing. Like going to the same school. I think when one of the teachers were still there, but she left. But she was like, you know, she was excited that when she comes, she expected, you know, great things from her. I'm like, she's not the same as me. She won't do the same things
that I do. Is this our English teacher?
No, Miss a science teacher.
Oh, okay.
And she was excited that, you know.
Oh, no. She had no. Bro, she wasn't prepared. She thought she was getting another fucking Harrison.
No. She would have got something very different. And the thing is, actually, one of the things that when we went to, with this. I'll bleep that. Our counselor, they do like student counselor meetings to see, you know, what's your progress on your things. The thing about the school was it was a middle college, so you did college classes while high school classes. So that's how you can earn your associates one extra year after your high school rather than 2, which was a nice thing.
Yeah.
Or be stupid like me and get it at the same time you graduate.
Have no life and just cram it all into 2 years, which, you know, is a great achievement, but you literally slave away for what? Well, if it's all, you know, situation. Another story for another time. And so this was one of those things where the counselor, because Skylar was feeling down, like, you know, she's trying to do the things that I've done and mount to what I have impacted, and she was like, you aren't your brother, you can't do these things, you do your own things in your own way. And I was like, that was one thing I never want to pressure her about the, you know, the achievements I have given there, because she's not going to achieve the same things that I have done, maybe not at the same time.
I mean, she's
going to achieve her own greatness, and hopefully but like we're not the same, and I achieve things for a very different desire than she does, and my drive is very different from hers. And that's the whole thing.
It's silly to compare in that way,
and that's
just
the
because
one
you're
thing,
siblings.
Yeah, people may not understand, and like, I have no idea where the point of this
I mean, it
was.
happens
Actually,
way too much.
What was the point of this story?
Well, just it's like people do compare siblings way too often. It's like just because they have the same blood, I mean, not the same blood, but have things in their blood that aren't same, does not mean that their personalities and their work ethic and all that is going to be the exact same.
Like if
it's very
like you carbon copied them
compare.
and just wrote raised them the same, potentially, maybe.
No, but still no, because even if you raise this, like, tiny things make huge differences. It's like the whole butterfly wing flap on one side of the world is going to cause like a tornado. It's like that shit is real. like really, like one tiny difference can really make a huge difference in who.
But I'll say, especially for us, our upbringings are extremely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's once again another topic for another day. Much things to actually talk about.
This is Harry's catchphrase on this podcast. Another topic for another. This is something.
There's been a lot of those today.
Actually, really quickly hitting on this, we won't discuss it in detail, but I just want to clear something up. I don't think it's that different, and here's why. All right, did you have and when by childhood I'm talking like pre-5th grade, did you have a really good childhood? Like a really healthy.
I probably had a pretty good childhood.
Yeah, I did too. Greg?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so then did you, during your adolescence, face something extremely traumatic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, same.
100%, yeah.
And then did you suffer through that throughout your teenage years, and then eventually come to terms with it?
Never.
Okay, I mean, Greg?
I never had to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're all the same.
I get the point you're building towards, but I also think that's part of the reason why we're friends, though. Because I'm sure there are other people who have gone through the same experiences but didn't end up with our understanding of things, and either just like dug into a hole, or even if they did figure out things, came to a different conclusion than we did. I think it's just our circumstances, and that's why we're friends, is because we came to more or less the same conclusion. And that's why we get along really well, is because it's like we're all like, fuck religion, logic is king, like that. That sort of thing. But I mean, no, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't trends. I think you're right. Like, there definitely are going to be trends in, like, you know, some situations are going to push people in the same direction. But I do think, like, there are very small things that can end up as huge effects that differentiate two people.
I actually remember, like, this scene from Burn Notice. It's a really good show if you guys ever bother watching. You won't. But anyway,
I like how you add that just to say you won't.
I'm gonna watch it just to spite you, and I'm only gonna watch like 5 seconds.
That's fair. But essentially, like the scene was the mom of like the main guy in the show, who's like a ex-CIA operative, and she's talking to his handler, so like his CIA handler, and she was just like, "Why is he so much different to his little brother?" And the handler's analogy was like, if you take 2 glass bottles and you just drop them on the ground, one can shatter in such a way that it becomes a jagged edge, a weapon.
Yeah.
And then another just shatters into a million pieces and completely falls. So, like, what strengthens one brother breaks the other one. So it's like, people don't react
and it can just be random.
Yeah. People react to situations differently, the same situation differently, even if they're like
regardless
very
if they're raised the same way. Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I that's always stuck with me.
All right.
It's a very fair point.
Well, great topic, Adash. This actually led to a lot more discussion than I thought it would, because I knew there were going to be good stories about ADHD, but I didn't realize it would then.
I think
okay, really quickly before we close, I want to do one last thing related to ADHD. I have just the list of symptoms up. I want you to give me just keep a mental note of the amount that you think applies to you, and then just say the number at the end. Okay,
go ahead. Yep.
All right. So main signs. So inattentiveness and hyperactivity and impulsiveness are the categories.
Wait. We're keeping track of how many of them apply.
That apply to
yourself.
You.
Okay.
So let's go through all the ones in inattentiveness. So main signs are having a short attention span and being easily distracted. That's one. Making careless mistakes, for example, in schoolwork. Appearing forgetful or losing things. Being unable to stick to tasks that are tedious or time-consuming. Appearing to be unable to listen to or carry out instructions. Constantly changing activity or task. Having difficulty organizing tasks. So that's one category. There's a second category, but write that number down. Don't say it out yet, because I want to go through the entire category and get the total, but also each per category.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the new category, hyperactivity and impulsiveness. So the first one in that is being unable to sit still, especially in calm or quiet surroundings.
Damn, that's crazy.
Constantly fidgeting.
Oh, that's crazy.
Being unable to concentrate on tasks that you are focusing on. Excessive physical movement.
Here, you better mark that one down, my man.
Okay, I was going to say, this counts as
like half the
what counts as excessive? Because I have a lot of physical movement, but I wouldn't necessarily call it excessive, because I don't think it affects other people. Harry's, I'm like across the house and I'm like, Harry, stop shaking your knee, please.
Okay.
So let's describe excessive physical movement as if you are in a conversation with somebody and it's like a long conversation. Can you stop yourself from fidgeting around too much to the point where it's distracting the conversation?
Greg, does it distract the conversation?
Sometimes.
Excessive talking.
So that's the thing. Excessive talking, I saw that. I was like, do we? I don't think we... Well, you might have that, Adash.
I've marked it down, buddy. Trust me.
But I was like, I don't think... Well...
Greg, it depends on the situation.
I think it also depends on the topic.
Yeah.
Being
unable to wait their turn.
Damn.
Acting without thinking. Interrupting conversations. Thinking? Yeah.
Oh.
Interrupting
such as
conversations.
Throwing key. Just kidding.
Oh my god. I did not even think about that for so long.
You know I gotta bring that back every few months.
Okay.
That's my role.
You're a piece of shit.
And then the final one, little to no sense of danger. That's an interesting one.
Okay, next category.
Okay, that is it.
That's it.
So, yeah, hyperactivity and impulsiveness are the same category.
Oh, okay. So it's just two categories.
Yep.
Okay.
So how much did you get for the first category, inattentiveness?
I marked 4.
Same. And that is out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 out of 7. So we have more than half the symptoms. You don't have half the symptoms.
Yeah.
And then the second category, hyperactivity and impulsiveness. How many did you get?
I marked 4 as well.
Same.
4. Yeah.
Okay, wow. We all have close to the same amount. And that one's out of more, though. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so good.
So in hyperactivity and impulsiveness, we have 4 out of 9.
You know, we've never told the key story on the podcast. We are going to have to tell that story in detail at some point.
Oh, yeah. I think,
we can't just reference it and then expect people to understand.
To bring it in.
Oh, ooh.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so
Yeah. Also, last thing before we end, I did want to point out that I finally remembered what the fucking Reddit thread was about. And the start of the Reddit thread
from the very beginning of the podcast.
Holy shit!
The whole reason this ended up being my topic of choice was because it was a Reddit thread on like figuring out that some people just have no internal monologue, and that was wild to me. I was like, what? Do motherfuckers just walk around each day like an NPC? Like, hello?
I think it's just different thought processing, because I will say, like, I definitely have internal monologue, but not much, especially nowadays, not much. Back then I used to do a lot more internal monologue, but I think these days it's more just like I drop by him sometimes and I'm like, what's up? And he's like, bro, get out of here.
The more you talk, the more you increase my main character complex. But yeah, that's
you haven't completed my quest yet. I've been waiting for years, bro.
I
can complete the quest.
I'll have to get the details
You skipped
later.
all my dialogue. You don't even know what the quest is.
I would argue, Greg.
This is why I sent the bees after you.
Oh, your bro dialogue trees.
All those years ago.
All right. All right. Well, cool. I guess I'm surprised we didn't have as many symptoms as I thought we would, because, you know, I don't think we have ADHD, or at least me and Harry don't have ADHD, but I did think we would have more symptoms just because of how that works. But
because we're spaz.
I think in the end, what my conclusion from this conversation has been is that we definitely have some symptoms, but not enough. I don't think it's ADHD. So
yeah, I think there's other things.
Yeah. I don't know what is.
I have taken depression medication too, and that also didn't work. So it's not that for me, at least. Somebody give me some meth. All right. Thanks for dropping in and listening to us ramble. You can find us on youtube.com/The Derailed Podcast. That's The Derailed Podcast and not Derailed Podcast. That will send you to the Jake Paul, Logan Paul podcast.
Wait, what?
That is not us.
wait, actually?
Yeah, no. It's not their podcast, but it's like a bunch of dudes who literally, I looked at their videos and like 5 of them were just talking about how Logan Paul is like the king of the fighting scene or something.
But that's not even true.
Well, yeah, obviously it's not. Yeah, but anyway, so that's their. I mean, they're obviously fans. So don't go to that link, please.
I don't think that's correct, because there's 2 channels that are already named The Derailed Podcast.
No, but it's youtube.com/The Derailed Podcast. That's our Yeah. That's our tag. Like that literally will only link to our channel. Yeah. If you put
no numbers afterwards. No numbers afterwards.
Right. It's just
okay.
That's why I was like, I did manage to snag that, thankfully.
Wait, hold on. I didn't realize our fucking profile photo. That's iconic.
Oh yeah, no. Me and Harry, like, we did good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we put in some work and ideas in the thought process and behind
and we finally don't have to worry about art because we have AI now.
Oh my god!
A lot of it is just AI art generation. Our banner is just AI art, so it's like, I mean, we still did some stuff to change it to make it look better, but like the base like train getting derailed is AI.
This is actually so true. My card game, I don't even have to hire somebody to
just AI art generation.
It's pretty incredible.
Just make sure you run it through Google and make sure it's not just accidental plagiarism because that can happen with AI. Figure, okay, anyway, so yeah, you can find us on youtube.com/@The Derailed Podcast. I forgot the @ and then we do new episodes every Tuesday, and they drop like right when it hits Tuesday, at least for the Eastern time zone, which you should be living in. If you don't live there, you suck. That includes
you're just taking L's.
Yeah. I'm kidding. Okay, don't forget to drop a like if you exhaled some air through your nose at any point during this episode, and subscribe if you want to continue doing that. It's good for your nasal passages. This has been Derailed, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Deuces.
That's
that was that's a wrong.
That's our official goodbye now. We have to say deuces every time.
No, do we have to? No.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Are we? Is that our
No,
thing? Is
it's not. But I'm definitely going to reference it a few times.
that our? Was it? Bop it, noggin. Pound it, noggin.
All right.